Alright, we are recording. Continuing in Just Cause 2. I'm going to try to make this one a reasonably short video. It probably won't be, but yeah. Had a power outage that lasted an hour, I think? And it's just, delayed my getting to this, so it's just easier for me than if I keep it shorter so I get, back on track. But we'll see, because, it's a fun game. I just enjoy playing Just Cause 2. Do some things to talk about. Some is definitely interesting, but not. Don't necessarily have a whole bunch here. And actually, one of the notes I have is for something, some work I have to do. I thought of it when I only had my phone with me, so I made the note on the phone. I can actually talk a little bit about that, but only if I need to fill time. Yeah, the main things I got there, and I forgot that it was actually this week. Maybe I should have put that into the Friday news roundup thing. So, okay. I would say that there were two main things this week that were that were truly a, big things with talking about. I might put that one first. I don't know what it is. I want to find out. One that I will get to, or at least try to, is Unreal Engine 5 has actually released. It had been in a beta release previously. Now it's at full release, and that's significant. That's a big deal for many reasons. But the other big thing, and this, it must have been Monday or so. I don't think that I forgot this note from last week. Is that, I want to see if maybe I can find that tag. Wargaming? So that's the studio, the company, larger company, behind World War tanks, World War ships. I think there's a World War planes, and there's a few others. I've never played War planes. I tried World of Tanks. It was okay, but didn't do anything for me. I liked War ships more so. I think it's because of movement. While certainly important, it wasn't as important. I could just set a route for the ship to be on autopilot and just have fun with the artillery. But anyway, I actually thought it was a Russian company. No, apparently it was founded in Belarus, but they're not going to be there anymore. They actually decided to shut down their studios. I'm hoping I remember this correctly. Shut down both their home studio, their original headquarters, their original studio in Belarus, and also what they have in Russia, because of what's going on. The whole Russia-Ukraine stuff. Because of that, they've decided, nope, we are done, we're out. They turned over the World War tank stuff for those countries to a different company that apparently they founded but has since split off, so they're independent. And they're moving their headquarters into one of their European offices, because they have studios in other places. But it's that's... World of War Tanks is a big game. There's a lot of people that play that. As I said, it doesn't connect with me, but it certainly connects with a lot of people. And this is going... they were even saying, yeah, we're going to lose money on this, but it's important to us to do this. That is a very big deal. That really is. Yeah, I had a hard time, though, finding... I saw it talked about in some places, but I didn't see... Oh, cool, there's another one. But I didn't really see... I wasn't able to find, the wargaming, thing talking about. Another game of theirs that, I have... It's been a while since I played it, though. They did a remake of, Master... Is it Master? Or Masters of Orion? I don't remember which. I'm sure if you look up either, you'll find it. And I never played the original. But I like space... Well, I like 4X games in general, but, space-based 4X games in particular. I enjoy those. And I did have fun with it. It actually, while playing it, gave me an idea for a story. I can explain that in a little bit. It's not as impressive as that may sound. Come on. There we go.
Try to communicate now, punks.
Hey, I need to deal with these helicopters.
We'll take care of this.
There it is.
Backup team on the way.
There we go. Well, that's one. Another. Yeah, I can quickly explain that. So, I have a speech impediment. I'm certain I've talked about it. And one of the things about my speech impediment that really annoys me, and I don't know, maybe other people that have speech impediments, they run into this as well, where sometimes when they're like talking to themselves or just thinking to themselves, it's not there. But sometimes it is. So, I like science fiction. And I like, trying to figure out, okay, how did it actually work? Okay? Completely normal mental exercise. Well,
He's bleeding like a stuck pig.
I need to deal with these guys. There we go. So I'm playing Masters of Orion, and space-based 4X game, obviously you're gonna have terraforming, right? I don't really like how... I can't think of a single game, well, a single 4X game at least. Really any game, though. But let's keep it to just that one. Just that genre.
Fun.
That actually, in my opinion, does terraforming right. In so many instances, it's like, you have to, colonize the planet first, which, if you're terraforming an entire planet, you don't want people living on that. It's not going to go well. Because, part of what you're going to be doing is disrupting the environment for the entire planet. You don't want people living there for that. Or in other cases, it's like, well, you're just terraforming a small portion, which I guess it is technically terraforming, but it's, come on, we're already, trying to create an empire that spans a galaxy. Why are we limited to what we, basically do now with the draining of swamps and bringing in irrigation, diverting rivers and... But it's like, as I'm going through that mental exercise, thinking about how this isn't, really all that impressive. This isn't real sci-fi. Well, I shouldn't say that. It is real sci-fi. It is real science fiction. But it just doesn't go to that extreme that I think makes sense to go to.
Enemy located. All units.
So while that's happening, while I'm thinking that, my speech impediment is present. Whoops. In my thinking, instead of saying terraforming, I say terraforming in my mind. And it stuck with me, because it's just like, that seems like a perfect opportunity for a story. Oh, jeez, I am in trouble. Because part of how I was thinking it was that, having like a lone terraformer, that what they do is they, visit the worlds that they're going to be doing this work on. But they're alone on an alien world that no one else is there, right? Well, that's, perfect opportunity for a horror story. Tried writing it. I think I did a bad job on the horror, but I like the science fiction. Oh shit! I was going there for cover. Yeah, that is the one issue with this game, is that it just keeps throwing enemies at you. Such that it's actually very hard to actually move around. I want to say Just Cause 3 is better on that. Not that it doesn't stop throwing enemies at you, but I think the movement is a little easier. Anyway, I just have that feeling. It's been too long since I've played it. But, yeah, so I wrote that story. That was 4 or 5 years ago now? It's been a while. And it's actually funny, the most recent story I wrote was actually same universe, but not like a sequel or anything to it. It's just in the same science fiction universe. Yeah. So, going to Unreal Engine 5 now, and also setting a path. There was one there. so it's a little bit more on the wall. You know what? No, I really should just pick up the one over here. You know, it's just safer if I pick it up here and then, you know, if it's not there, I potentially have another opportunity. Anyway. Yeah, so Unreal Engine 5, and I think I was actually just talking about it last week. I don't even remember why. Huh, anyway. Oh, yeah, no, it wasn't last week. It was a little bit longer than that, but with CD Projekt Red going to be using it for their next Witcher game. Yeah, so Unreal Engine 5 has actually officially released, which is definitely going to be interesting. Unreal Engine has earned... I don't necessarily know if earned is the right word, but has gained quite a reputation. The reason why I don't necessarily want to say earned is I don't know how much of it is just because it's free. Free means that a lot of people like using it, but it is still a very competent engine. I mean, you would not see a company like CD Projekt Red. I mean, they've been making their own engine for how many years? You would not see them make a move to an engine unless they knew that they could trust it. Oh, perfect. Or not. Oh, wait, no, there was one there. Okay. I was thinking about going back to the base that I respawned at, specifically so I could reload. I mean, personally, the two technologies in UE5 that I'm most interested in seeing, well, it's Nanite and Lumen, which are, I mean, they're also really the ones that they're focusing on, but more so Nanite than Lumen. I mean, I get it that having such a powerful global illumination system, a dynamic global illumination system, is important. But one thing I've not seen specified is if it is relying on some kind of ray tracing where it's going to be kind of hardware limited. I hope not. I honestly do believe that some of the stuff with ray tracing, some of the effects, like global illumination, I do believe that there are probably tricks that can be done to do it on rasterization that is very efficient. I do believe that. Some of that might just be because I'm contrarian enough, but some of it is, I do also believe that there is far too much hype around ray tracing. That it's not always actually producing a positive benefit to the visuals, but a huge negative to the performance. I mean, it's yeah. And it's funny, I could talk about some of that, but I won't, because that's for the article. I think I did talk about it. I'm working on the performance analysis for Dying Light 2, which does have ray tracing in there. And I've already gone through and looked at the image quality stuff, including ray tracing. Yeah, no, that's something to... Talking about that's best to wait until, the article. I mean, it's only fair. You know, because there I can have fuller context to all my thoughts. But yeah, anyway, going back to the Lumen, it is certainly interesting, but it is something I hope that it isn't just like, oh, hey, and we're just, you know, using ray tracing for all this. It's like, well, then what's special? How is this actually significant?
Reporting hostiles in a sector.
I think I made it.
All units,
Well,
intercept.
not quite, but that could have been worse. Now, whoa. Where is that helicopter? That was definitely a helicopter that was shooting. I can't see it. I think it's like on me. There it is. Okay. Turn. And I'm already almost dead again. Son of a bitch. I really don't know why the helicopter died that soon. I don't think it took near enough damage for their handguns to shoot it down. At least I took out both the last of the same, so I don't need to worry about that. Just need to worry about everything else. Apparently, that includes small arms fire. Anyway. No, nanite is the technology for UE5 that I'm most interested in. And it's funny, when looking at the stuff again, I could have sworn, and I'm still going to say that is what they said at one point, that the description for nanite was it was about virtualized geometry. That's part of what it was doing. But in the write-up that they shared on UE5 this week, I didn't see that mentioned. So I'm certain I saw it explained that way at some point though, so I'm gonna stick with it. For better or worse. But let me still try to explain it. So in a game like this, which UE5 it has many advances to it for open world games like this, so this is actually a good game to use as an example. All these mountains, and we're actually seeing it now, how like shadows are popping in, but also there's more detail popping in to the trees. That's because, every mesh in this, every object is geometric and has so many vertices on it. Why am I doing this? I need to get the helicopter down. And not completely, but the performance is a function of the number of vertices, the complexity of the objects. There's more nuance to it than that, but that is part of it. I just mean that there are other things that influence performance more than that. Okay? So for that reason, they use mipmaps is one example, but pyramidal parametrics. Yes, that's it. Which mipmaps are a version of that's specific for textures, but you also do that with just normal geometry. So there's versions of these trees that have much lower vertice counts, and that's what they're using further away. And it's all just to help with performance, because more vertices, the more difficult it is to do all that processing. That's also why you don't see the million or billion vertice assets that are created, in some cases for the game, but why you don't see those used in games. So it's actually interesting, just today, because remember I record these on Friday, but just today, Coffee Stain Studios put out a video. I think they try to put a video out every Friday. I think I've seen 1 or 2 Fridays that they missed, but regardless. They were talking about the different tools that they use for the development of Satisfactory, which is their current game. And one of the tools that they use there is ZBrush, and that they can make, million vertice objects in that. And it's used not just in video games; it's also used in movies and such. I mean, it is essentially a digital sculpting software piece of software. But you can't import that stuff directly into a game engine because there's way too much data there for the engine to handle efficiently, and certainly not at real time. UE5 with nanite addresses that. At least that's the theory. We'll know when it, we start getting stories of development. But that's what it is promising. Okay?
We got him!
And it is certainly interesting. I do not know what all we should expect. minigun is just... While the helicopter is very powerful, the portability of it, the maneuverability of it is at least that nice. The other helicopter is a lot better in that regard. But being able to just, walk around with this thing looks fantastic. Anyway, so Nanite somehow, I think when I saw it explained once, was virtualization of the geometry. Allows for management of these million vertice assets. So you could then just directly import the movie level, cinematic level assets for use. But I mean that certainly is one use for it. I think that another use for it that is also what they talk about. So it isn't like no one knows it, that no one's thought of that. But I do think it will be the more interesting. Is it could allow for the removal of level detail, at least authoring. So instead of it being that somebody has to decide, okay, at this distance we use this quality level of asset, at this distance we use that quality level, and so on and so forth. You don't need to do that. Instead, the system just figures it out for you. It's basically always figuring out what vertices or what number of vertices it needs to just fill the screen with, fill the screen's pixels without, being wasteful, without putting more vertices in one pixel than can be used. Now the funny thing is, I could see that providing a benefit not just for, like, oh, now we don't need to worry about this level of detail stuff. So far away, we can have better better versions of the assets loaded in. But I could see it also being that it enables
I'm going around.
lower quality assets really close. So the gun here, for example, the minigun here. It's very possible that right now, that polygon for it has more detail to it than is actually being rendered on my screen. It's actually not very likely just because of the age of the game, but that's... Like, they wouldn't necessarily have been authoring it for 1440p or 4K. And I'm only playing at, 1080p class resolution, so... it might be actually 1-to-1. But let's just say that that's not the case. That is, in fact, high resolution. Nanite would be like, okay, well, we're not going to load in what we don't need. So I could actually see it, basically on both sides improving performance, improving the situation. I'm just clearing. Alright. This is gonna suck. What the heck? I don't think that was always here.
That'll come in handy.
This mount, wasn't there like a health thing right there? I thought there was a health thing down. And now, run. I want to get over here. There's another minigun. Alright, there we go. Now I can explore safely. But yeah, so it's, to me, I find nanite the much more interesting technology than lumen. But we'll just have to see what comes. It'll also be interesting to see what will be the first non-epic game to use Unreal Engine 5. Technically, Fortnite has been using Unreal Engine 5 for however many months. At least a version of it has been. A version of the game has. I think the other one's just gonna... And I do also believe it is a pickup. That's not something more destroyed. That actually was a terrible idea. Because I'll get nearer, it'll spawn an enemy, and I won't be able to just pop the whole top to kill the enemy. So yeah, and there are many other technologies as well. Some that are more developer focused, like one having to do with how maps are loaded in the editor for open world, because traditionally how you do it is you break a map up into chunks. And, I mean, that also just makes sense to do regardless to help managing resources. But, you know, like, where I'm standing right now is in one chunk, but that's got another chunk. Like, over on that mountain top there is another chunk. So if there's a developer working on this chunk, you know, one developer, another can't or won't work on the same chunk because I'm using it and we don't want to risk overwriting each other's work, right? What they've done is figured out in their tooling how to make it possible to basically have both people in the same chunk, in the same block. And so long as they aren't actively actually working on the same thing, it'll actually still work fine. You know, the difference, the versioning stuff, will be granular enough to tell the difference, and then have them combine. I mean, that is definitely going to be powerful. And there's other things like that as well that are going to really improve some efficiency, which should prove very interesting. Because I'm trying to think how best to put this. When you can improve the efficiency, especially when, you know, video games, 2-3 years is fairly normal. Longer for plenty of larger games. Like this game at the time could easily have been 4 years. Okay? But if you're making the workers more efficient, let me tell you something. A lot of studios, they won't make a 4-year game in 3 years. They won't even want to try. They would rather have the developers, everyone involved, just spend that time to make it a better game. And that could be very interesting to see. You know, like, get those last optimizations in there because you've got the time to do it.
It's a tough job.
Get those ideas that, you know, we're going to be just neglected on the backlog, get those actually implemented because, hey, we got the time to, we can figure this out. It's like that there is a lot of stuff that could open up just because that's what efficiency does. Let's see where I want to go. You know what? I know there's these. I think that was more interesting. I'm concerned that these are just... I mean, I can try to pick them up on the map, but I'm just concerned that they are, like, just the radar things. I don't care so much about that. I am getting a drink of water, though. Oh, something else about Unreal Engine 5 that is interesting is Unreal Engine 4 already has been used by Hollywood because, you know, Epic wants it used, so they try to design it for that, but also they will, you know, potentially offer some deal. You know, nothing unusual. But the the reason why Hollywood would use any game engine is because, if you think about it, you've got the ability to have 3D graphics rendered in real time. And not necessarily always very quickly, but to quickly also make edits to the jump. Well, you know what? I'm gonna regret it, but I'm doing it.
Enemy located.
So like one example is, do they just call it the wall? I don't remember what they call it. It's got some nickname like that though. Where it's basically a massive television. It's actually, I think, all LED, but it, you know, a massive curved television that just will display the background for you, like a real green screen, a real life green screen. It'll just give you whatever you want. Now you do warping on the image, though. What the hell? How does that keep happening? How does that thing keep blowing up to small arms fire? Anyway, you know what? Oh, crap. Not what I meant to do. But I think I saw a vehicle.
Don't let him get away.
Right there. Unfortunately, this vehicle is kind of crap because of this. You can't drive and shoot, but
Get him!
that one is better. And still, you know, got a chance to get to. I do have nothing to talk about. But, you know, obviously this to focus on. There we go. Wow. What is up with this? It's like they're doing extra damage. Very weird. Son of a bitch! There was a guy with a rocket launcher up there that I didn't know about. Their camera was working. Anyway, the other thing I wanted to talk about that I have on this list is GOG has, I mean, a while ago, the financial numbers for CD Projekt Red, or rather CDPR Group, I think it technically is, came out and were not that great for GOG. I mean, overall, there was still a profit for the group, but GOG was losing money. And in some ways it makes sense. In some ways it doesn't. It's one of those things whenever you've got a market like that. But it helps if I cover some of the history. Yeah. So I will pick up the other helicopter. So GOG started as Good Old Games. That's what it was. But they eventually rebranded to just GOG, which was a nickname for it, and the site was GOG.com. But they shifted to that because they realized, like, CD Projekt Red always put their games on there, so they did have modern games there. And it was also, like, they could sell modern games. So they started doing that as well, as still having, you know, the classic games that they had worked to bring up to modern specification. You know, there are games there that are 20, 25 years old that will run on Windows 11 even. It's like games that DirectX hadn't even been invented yet, okay? They're that old, but they've figured out by various means how to get them there. How to get them to work. And also they made them DRM free. And that's part of how I think they lost their way to a degree, and also how they ended up losing, not being as profitable. Although I think some of that was also they may have just, and this happens for a lot of companies, if they grow too much, they start, you know, expanding and not, you know, expanding beyond their support. But anyway, I think some of that may have happened. Like they did do some restructuring, that may have helped a lot. But they also decided to go back to how they used to be. You know, it's like they don't want to, they're not going to give up, you know, the modern games. I think that'd be stupid to do. But to try to bring back the focus on that, because that's where they got started. That's how they, well, that's how they got started. That's how people, you know, fell in love with it initially. And also the DRM free, which was something that they'd had some issues with. Like, I think Hitman was one that still had some online component. And that really ticked off a lot of people. And I'll grant that, you know, it's like, yeah, that's not really fully DRM free. But at the same time, it's one of those, you know, DRM is a little complicated when you realize that there's also managing the user's digital rights. Like, you know, how do you achieve that? And that is a thing. I mean, it's, you know, like any account in a multiplayer game, that's about protecting your account. And that is a form of DRM. I know there are people that are like, no, DRM is just, you know, the man trying to keep you from, you know, playing the game as you want to play it or whatever. And it's like, no, you're too obsessed with this, the man thing. Basically, my view is DRM, it has its purposes. There are definitely examples where it goes well beyond that purpose. Like, irresponsibly beyond in some cases. Okay? But it does have its purpose. DRM free, though, also has its purpose. And it's good to see, you know, them. I think Hitman they did eventually pull because, I mean, obviously create too much of a fracas, but also just the whole. Hopefully they learned that, you know what? No, we said DRM free. We have to, you know, make the sacrifices that there are some games that we may want on here, but sometimes that cost is not too much. But what they are doing, I know I keep going a little bit off topic. They are bringing back a good old games tag. So there is currently over 500 games tagged with this. That to be tagged, they need to be considered a classic game, which has a few criteria. One is that they decided, which I'm guessing is some kind of internal polling, if a game was, you know, sufficiently good, stood the test of time, impacted the genre, and things like that, or even established a genre. That does happen. That if a game has achieved that and is at least 10 years old, did I already say that? I want to come back to that one, though, at that point. That if that is the case, then it can get this tag. And this is something that, you know, was part of the original model of GOG, was it was somewhat curated. I think that they still, you know, always wanted to get all the games they could on there, but, you know, it's not like Steam, where just, hey, you want to put the game up here? Okay, fill out these forms, they can be up there. It was a, hey, we want to get this game on there? Okay, who's going to take the time to figure out how the hell to get it to work? Because, I mean, there's there's even some games I have from GOG where it's like, yeah, this isn't quite working right. I still need to do stuff to get it to work perfectly. Things like games that were not made when 640 by 480 was the highest resolution you can have. It kind of needs help to get that working right. I understand that, but whatever. Why did you do that? Come on. No. Okay. I think I'm good. Nope. So yeah, it's gonna be this more curated thing, and I did look through some of it, and it is, I mean, the way I put it in the write-up today was, for older gamers, I am included in that. I mean, there are definitely older gamers than me, don't get me wrong. But still, as I can remember playing games that some of you, the young whippersnappers, have no concept ever existed. But some of these games may have established certain mechanics today that you just think are always the case. But it's also the whole, yeah, you may not want to remember that these games are in fact now 10 years old, well, at least 10 years old. I get that. I do. Because there's some of these games where it's like, really? That's 10 years old now? But then it's also one of those, there we go. One of those things where it's like, the first review I wrote was for Borderlands 2, and that was in 2012. Borderlands 2 is going to be 10 years old this year, so. Which also means then that Borderlands is over 10 years old. I don't know if it's available on GOG. I could believe it's not, though. I could believe that... And I don't know. I genuinely don't know, but I could believe it's not, that they just don't want to make it DRM-free. It's also, though, the whole... I mean, it might be doable, but it does have a online component that you might not be able to recreate without some measure of DRM. Come on. There you go. Yeah. For one thing, I was looking through the list, I spotted a game that I honestly never thought I would find again. Never. It's kind of a funny story. So, I'm so old. It's not to say I actually am old, but it's there are too many people today that wouldn't understand it. I remember going to the library. I mean, that right there, you already know I'm old. But actually being able to get video games there. In fact, many probably still do have them, but yeah, you actually used to, well, as I said, you probably still can, but yeah, that was a way to actually get some video games. I mean, yeah, they'd have to be somewhat educational. But, a good video game is still a good video game. It doesn't matter if it's educational. Like, that doesn't take anything away from it. But I could remember this one game that was sort of a city builder. I couldn't remember the name to it, though. That was mythological in its design or in its art and such, and I could not figure out what it was. And I think about it every now and then. I find it in... And as I'm just going through some of the games that are on this, that have this tag, there's just one, and it's like, I wonder, because I see a little bit of the image to it. Click on it, that's it. It's Zeus and Poseidon Acropolis is how it shows up there. It might be that the name's actually Acropolis, but there was like Acropolis Zeus and then an expansion of Acropolis Poseidon. I don't know. I didn't look too closely. I just put it on the wish list because, like, yep, that's the game. I remember playing that game and enjoying it all those years ago. And by all those years ago, I do mean, yeah, that's very possibly 25 years. But hey, a good, fun game, it sticks with. But, yeah. And it's also, though, just part of what I wrote was talking about how, you know, for the older gamers like us, you may not want to remember just how old some of these games are now. But also for the younger gamers. I mean, there legitimately are some games on that list. I saw one where it's like, yes, that is a game that actually has some design elements to it you do not see today. And the thing is, they were good design. It was good design. Like, it disappoints me to not see it today, or at least if it is in some games today, I've not played them yet. I could think of one that might have. Actually, maybe two. But, you know, it's like, it should not be a I don't see this in other games kind of thing. It's Star Wars Rebellion, which is a 4X game. I think it's actually it's a fairly early one. And it was also the first game to have the 3D battles. So, like, you can actually have an Empire fleet and a Rebellion fleet fight each other and watch it in 3D. You can even direct some of it, too. I mean, that was a big deal. Okay. But one of the things in it that I really like, and I can't really think of any other 4X game that does, or at least does it quite like this, is blockading. You could blockade planets in that. And when you did, it was a legitimate strategy because you would not only just, you know, cut off their ability to provide resources to the larger culture of whoever your opponent is, but it also, over time, the lack of resources, their ships would just fall apart. And that's part of it that I've not seen anywhere else. And it's also, you know, how it's handled is different. So, like in Civilization, what is this last thing I have to deal with? In Civilization, at least in Civilization 5, in order to blockade, you would have to, like, actually have control over the area. In order to blockade a city, you would need to somehow control it. Is my memory. Like, you actually have to attack to do that. And yeah, you would cut off the economic resources, but I don't think that there was anything about, you know, the whole, oh, just, you're not keeping up your maintenance, so the ships fall apart. What am I missing? That's what. Okay, I know what it is. I know. I need this. There we go. But yeah, so a strategy that I had, I would just put ships with some weapons on them, but very light armament. I was like, these are ships that would never stand up in a true space battle, but you could blockade any planet with them. Because so long as you don't attack the planet, you don't engage the planetary defenses. Fighter craft will come up and attack and try to stop the blockade from forming initially. But if they're not there, or if you just, you know, these ships, they were competent fighting the fighters. Whether it's TIE fighters or X-Wing, they were competent enough that actually worked.
We have a visual.
So, you know, just this blockade mechanic, I really liked it. I really do like it, and I don't know why you don't see it in other games.
Enemy presence within the area. Shoot.
Yeah, I mean, it really, I'm serious, it disappoints me to not see that in other games. And I do think, I can see ways to do it better today, that, you know, hey, we got much better technology today, there's some tweaks I would make to make it more interesting. Because it was very binary. I would have it try to be based on how many ships are actually there. How many ships actually make up the blockade. Alright. You know, I said I wanted to be short. I think this is actually where I will be stopping, sort of. Not completely. I at least want to see what this is. At least get that taken care of. On the map, I mean. And there were other things to Rebellion as well. Like, one thing that I really like, you could actually build construction yards on one planet and send them to another. That is definitely something I can't think of being able to do in any game. In Civilization, the closest I can think of for it is just you can spend the money to basically instantly build stuff, but not just have it normally produced somewhere else and put there. And that really does make a lot of sense. I mean, especially when you're on the scale of Rebellion, it's not unreasonable. In Civilization, okay, that's unreasonable. It's not like, you can just, park a manufactory, or foundry or anything like that. Just, make it in one city, drive it over to another, park it, and there you go. It doesn't quite work that way. I admit that. But that doesn't mean it's not kind of cool. The idea. Am I actually able to even see? Okay. I'm not. That's annoying. I'm just because it is so hard to see it on the map, the icon, I'm gonna try to grab this stuff up. I mean, it's also safe. I just need to, run around. That fight does not involve. And I can keep from being involved. And by the way, Star Wars Rebellion, I already do have it. Another one, Pax Imperia, I like. And that's another classic 4X game. Part of the reason I like it, and you actually do see this in Sins of Solar Empire, is it's not the just, oh, you can fly anyway. There actually are space corridors. Which makes sense, to a degree. It's not, I mean, I'll grant it's not perfect. But having specific corridors does make sense. Actually, I think Star Drive, which is an indie game, I think that might actually be the most appropriate, where you can actually pilot a ship anywhere. So that's like what you see in Galactic Civilizations. But you can also put down, I don't remember what they're called, but you can put things down that will actually improve the efficiency. So you can basically make your own corridors. Oh. I'm gonna get in trouble for it, but here it is. I was trying to figure out what the helicopter was. Yeah, I'll get in trouble for this, but I'll do it. I need to blow up the propaganda van there. Yeah, it was nice having that wormhole type system. I think is actually how it's explained in the game, because because of the kind of control it gives. That you can try to arm and protect these single access points, but also sometimes you have a system that has a lot of access points. Makes it tricky. But it still is, very interesting design, a worthy design to be used. And who knows, maybe at some point we will actually see a Sins of a Solar Empire 2. I mean, that is true. It has, Stardock has said that they are working on a number of new major games that are coming at, well, at least being announced this year. But I want to say it has also been explained by them that, yeah, Sins has some issues with licensing. So Sins 2 might not really be able to happen ever because of that. But you never know. Sometimes things can get worked out And there's also sometimes contracts are time limited. So just, at some point in time, it's suddenly used. Yeah. Or they could, just be like, well, we're not doing Sins of Solar Empire 2, we're doing something else. And it just, plays a lot like Sins. Wow, those crickets are loud.
You have located one of our precious ancestral skulls.
No, there are some other things, though, that I would think interesting to do in a space-based 4X game that I've not seen any game, new or classic, do. But I would like. Space is dark. I'll leave it at that. Actually, no, I won't leave it at that. Just, space is dark, and it seems like no game really exploits that fact. And I think that is something that would be worth trying to exploit. No, I was just trying that. I'm going back to that, and then ending it. Just trying to think if there's anything else I can talk about, can really mention. Nothing too much is coming to mind, though. It's been one of those days. Oh, I guess I could talk about that. I've talked about some of the how I've been working on this new analytics. I've talked about it before, so I don't mind talking about it now. New analytics tool for the performance data that I gather. And man, actually collecting performance data for Dying Light 2 and having to think about, actually putting it in an article, writing it all, putting it in there, it is so advantageous because it's one of those, now I have to think about it differently than I have been. So that's, I'm seeing that, oh yeah, I should really try to do things this way, that way. And I actually managed to figure out how to get a lot of it done. There are some tweaks I need to make, but it's it is beyond fully, it's been fully functional for a while. It's even further beyond that now. So I actually have it, I'm just gonna land, save, and stop. So that, ow, I landed. So the thing that I just realized, I really need to figure out how to get this to work is a way. If you look at my stuff, you will see that, I break down the mean, median, all that in, hey, Weird West apparently has an update. I don't know. It's 34 meg, that might not be. Yeah, I can see if there's anything in there. But I figured out, well, I tend to break things down by what the GPU was, that's obvious, the API, yeah, kind of obvious, quality level, certainly obvious, but also location. What I figured out, what I decided I really needed to do was to change how some of that works, so that then you can toggle things on and off. So have it not group by location. So that way you could have all the data for the GPU, for the same GPU, API, and quality be shown together. So you want to see, oh, did this GPU perform better under DirectX 11 or DirectX 12 at a performance level? Well, I set it up so that you can toggle off location, and that's what the stats will be. What I've also figured out how to do, and this is something that I still need to tweak some, is that same idea, but for the graphs. So that you can have the frequency plot for just, all of it, ignoring the location. For the QQ plot, the consecutive difference plot, the summary plot, the means plot. The tweak I actually want to make, well, one of them, is to disable it for the course plot. It's inappropriate there. But I have it working there. I'm going to turn it off there. Because that you can't combine that data. The time element makes it inappropriate to do so. But with the other stuff, though, that'd be still be pretty interesting. You could also like turn off API, say, and just see, okay, regardless of API, or maybe do it for well, you wouldn't really want to do it with quality, but like seeing, okay, what location was actually the hardest to run, stuff like that. I still need to actually figure out filtering on the graphs. So like being able to turn off including certain like GPUs and locations. The funny thing is I actually already have some of the foundational stuff for that in there, but I've not set up the tool to take advantage of it. But I can. So I want to do that. I'm going to finish up with this stuff first, though. I'm not super concerned about that, though, because that's more about like just making it easier to see some of the graphs. But there's another solution for that in there. I have that already for the tables. That's where I need that. So yeah, it'll be... I like this tool. I am very, very hopeful that it will be able to go live whenever I finish the Dying Light 2 performance analysis. We'll just see. There's a couple ways I could share it. One would be better long-term than the other, but both would work. So yeah, hopefully it might still be a couple weeks. I'm talking about all this stuff, but yeah, it might be a couple weeks. Just how it is. Just how it is. And also I just pulled up, Zeus plus a Poseidon Acropolis. Parenthetically is Acropolis. But yeah, that's a game that I'm serious. I can remember getting that from the library and playing it. And part of how I know that this is the game, even though it's been so long, and let me actually try to find it. Where is the screenshot? There it is. There's a screenshot for the game that shows a statue of Dionysus, of Bacchus. I'm not sure which is, I don't remember which is the Greek or Roman name. But anyway, and I'm going through and it's like, this looks right. You know what? I remember that statue. Yep, this is it. $10. I'm probably going to get that at some point. Oh, release date was 2000. Okay, so it's only 22 years old. Well, 21 and a half. I could have believed it was longer, but yeah. And I'm, seriously, got it out of the library. And enjoyed it. And did enjoy it. Yeah, strategy simulation Manju. I doubt even if I get it, I would do videos in it. That would be more a game just for me. Alright, well, I gotta stop now, so, yeah, see you next time.